What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking a look at Deepest Chamber. This is a game we covered a year and a half ago. I don't even honestly know. I didn't have time to check the dates before I started recording here today. But it was a card-building, dungeon-crawling roguelike that got off to a little bit of a rough start. The game looks great. It's got a very King's Field-inspired atmosphere, I think, going for it. Very FromSoft, which makes it stand apart from all the other kind of card games. Deck builders in general seem to lean into kind of like the Noble Bright direction. And one thing that always struck me about Deepest Chamber is they kind of really lean into kind of the malaise and the darkness and like the edginess, which is what I always liked about it. But unfortunately, the game was sort of lacking in depth in its original iteration. It was basically about stacking the biggest numbers you possibly could. And there weren't a lot of card synergies or anything else like that. The developers took that feedback on board, and about 6 to 8 months ago, they rebooted the game entirely as Deepest Chamber Resurrection, and basically restarted their early access, not from scratch, like they've still got a lot of stuff done, but basically they redid the entire foundations of the game in order to make those synergies and those power plays a lot more meaningful. I was waiting for this to happen, and so we're going to dive on in today for about 30 minutes to see if it's something you wanted to add to your wish list or otherwise pass on. If after watching this video you wanted to get the early access for yourself, it's down below. If not, don't worry about it. On top of that, down there you'll also find a link to my Discord and my Twitch stream just in case you wanted to hang out live. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on into Deepest Chamber. When we embark, we are in kind of this room right here. This is where you're going to be doing all of your metagame plays. Every single time you win a fight, kill a monster, you get a candle. Burn down like plague candle, basically. This takes place in a post-apocalyptic... Basically, it's Dark Souls. All right, there's a giant city that used to be a metropolitan area, like a major, sort of like Paris or like London or like Beijing type city, like a city that's a major hallmark like on the planet. It's a big deal, this city. It went dark. Nobody really knows what happened to it. It's got a magical dome around it now, and everyone is trying to go in through the sewer system in order to get into the city and figure out what happened to this major player in the political landscape. We are one of those teams of adventurers. When you go in, you fight until you die, you come back out here, you buy new things with your candles in order to make yourself stronger, like equipment. This is new. These characters actually have character sheets now, and they level up and stuff, which they did not do before, the last time I played the game. And so anyways, I've got some light equipment upgrades on some of my characters, but we've got some candles to spend, so I'll probably go ahead and do that now. I don't know, I've got like this coin thing that says that it opens up this guy's private reserve, but I don't know if I have to get to like a certain point in the game before that's going to be helpful. It's been years since anybody willingly entered this forsaken place. If you come with good intentions, I thank you. I'm the commander of the troops of Dolmen. We serve the king and the people of the city. Okay, I've got a thing for this guy, too, inside my inventory that said it opens up his private reserve as well. But I don't know if that content has been, like, implemented yet. Like, if it's actually in the game. We could buy some equipment out here. It's more than possible that we could probably, like, buff somebody up and make things a little bit better. It looks like we've got some Sandals of Faith over here. I'll buy those for the old cleric. We've got a longsword over on this side. We've got soft wool boots. We got a crimson staff right there. It looks like I am out of candelas, though. So let's go ahead and throw on our equipment. I've got 3 characters at the moment. I've got Zhu, who is our sorceress. I've got Dorn, who is basically a warrior. And I've got Sakura, who is a priest. And I very much like these portrait designs. These characters look really good. This is the kind of art style that really gets me attracted to a game and makes me think, yeah, I want to play that. So where'd them other shoes run off to? Didn't I buy some shoes or something? I feel like there we go. I bought some cleric sandals of faith. Who can wear these? I would assume the cleric, right? Yeah, they're sandals of faith, dude. They're shoebies of faith. You gotta put the socks of faith on, then you put the sandals of faith on, and then you go to the beach and irritate everybody. There's also an alchemy bench for crafting. You can make yourself potions if you have the materials in order to do so. We do have some of the materials, so I'll go ahead and make a healing potion. It's not much. It only heals somebody for 4, but like, it's better than nothing because this game actually comes at you like a ton of bricks. This game wants you dead very badly. Let's embark into the dungeon, and we will show what the game looks like. I can get 7 gold, or I can get a potion. I'll take a potion. Why not? It's a potion of flurry. Okay, so it allows us to basically double and triple cast cards. At the beginning of the game, you also get to pick a trinket that's going to kind of decide what your build is going to look like. So we can get an old tome. It applies corruption to the enemy. Corruption basically is a stacking buff that makes you hit 1% harder for each corruption. So if we hit the enemy like 12 times in a turn, they would have 48 corruption, and they would effectively be taking 50% more damage from every source. We can get a cradle. Every time a card gets boosted, add scales to your hand. That's not too bad. Boosting is one of the new mechanics in the game as well, the new architecture that the game is built on. I'll explain it in just a second. We've also got every time your heroes gain a buff, add a Scorch card to your hand. I'll probably try out the Scales one because I always have problems having enough defense. So if you've ever seen Slay the Spire or any game like FTL, you will understand what you're looking at right here. This is a map web that allows you to decide where you want to go inside the dungeon and what you want to do. I'll probably just cut off to the right over here, and then we'll talk about combat and how it functions. For the most part, this game is a energy-based card builder. And so your energy's down here in the bottom right. But the difference is every single character in your party contributes to the deck based on their specialties rather than just having one character. There are alternate characters. There's not very many of them yet. There's a rogue that I haven't unlocked as of right now. I've done like 3 or 4 runs, and I haven't unlocked the rogue. But anyways, there's another character you can swap in where you want him to go. I don't know if there's plans for future characters, but the enemies tell you what their intent is. They're going to hit Dorn for 7 damage. So it's probably a good idea that we boost up Dorn. So whenever a card gets boosted, huh? All right, so boosting. These little pips on your cards, where your cards are in your hand actually matters now. And so if I was to play this slash right here, it would boost the cards that are adjacent to you. And every time a card gets boosted, it gets stronger in some way. Either it gives you more defense, it gives you more offense, it costs less energy, it has like a side effect that takes place. And so boosting is actually like a fundamental thing that you need to learn how to do. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. In addition, some cards are going to allow you to move things around in your hand so that you can capitalize on adjacency a little bit more aggressively. I'll probably just move the heal over. I don't think we're going to use the heal this turn. I'll take a 7 damage slash to the sewer rat, I guess. And a 5 damage slash to the sewer rat. In between your turns, what will happen is these boosts stay. So you don't have to worry about playing it all in one turn. If this goes back into our discard, the next time this fireball or this heal comes back up, it will actually still be boosted. So don't panic too much about it. This is a game with a very small deck size. I think you start out with like small deck energy. And so we've only got like 15 cards in our deck. Either way, that Scales card right there allowed us to tank that 7 damage. And so it got us out of trouble. Oh, he's going to do 9 now. Upsetting. Very, very upsetting. All right, so they're going to put Blight on us. We got 8 damage going out. This may be a defensive turn where we spend most of our time protecting ourselves. I'm going to throw a Holy Shield on him. I'm going to throw a Smite out over here just to keep some outbound damage happening. We've got this Defend right here, which I will play, which stacks up defense on everybody. I'll play that as well. Defense in this game plays a little bit differently from games like Slay the Spire. Your defense stays forever until you get hit. Once you get hit, your defense decays and falls off at the end of the turn. But up until you get hit, you don't really need to worry about it. I'm going to spread some of this defense around. There we go. And then I think we can fireball that guy just to kill him and get him off the field to play before he blights us. And then because we fully boosted that Inferno card or whatever, we got a free Scorch that we can throw out. The game does have good spell effects. I feel like the game is fairly attractive to look at. It's enjoyable to play. Let's go ahead and throw out a few of those. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all. We'll throw some Scales on the old warrior here. And then we'll shift you to the right. We will throw out a little bit more defense on everybody just to keep that stacking, and we're looking pretty good right now. One thing I would advise is don't block reactively in this game. Always be stacking block on everybody you possibly can, because the enemy likes to swap targets a lot, and they hit really, really hard. So if in the moment you're trying to defend yourself from attacks, it usually means you're doing it wrong. You want to have lots and lots of blocks set up because it stays forever very, very early. We get a card right here. We can get 10 Corruption to all enemies in the Priest. We get Incantation, 5 damage. It looks like it puts Corruption on the target in the Priest, and then the Corruption value goes up in context. We've also got Raise Morale. Heroes gain 1 Warm Light whenever a Priest card is played during the next 2 turns. So that's not too bad. I'll probably take it. We do have that heal card, and that'll boost it up really, really nicely. We can also get a resource. This is for potion brewing. And then we get our candles so that we get our metagame currency to advance through the game. Let's go ahead and dive deep, deep down into more dungeons. We've got ourselves a spooky-looking guy over here. A guy that seems like he means business. Let's go ahead and we will throw a fireball at him. We will mana shield the warrior. That will give us scales. And then we will shift maybe you over to the right. We'll play scales on you. We'll play defense. And then we'll play defense. And we should be looking pretty good on the blocking front. So there we go. We completely mitigated all the damage, but he got a strength buff, which means he's going to be hitting for a couple damage harder on this turn. He stripped all of the block off of my warrior, which is a little bit of a downside. But I think, what can I do here? I will play Warm Light, I think. I'll play Holy Shield over here. That'll give us scales. I'll play a Smite right there to bring his damage down a little bit. And that looks like that gave us enough scales to kind of get clear of most of the damage. There is another mechanic you can use to spread damage around, in case you were wondering. We'll go... I need that heal to go away. Let's take that heal and we'll drag it over to the right. We'll go right there. We'll throw a fireball. We fully boosted that guy. He's got enough to block this next attack, so I'm probably just going to spread some of the defense around in case he decides to swap targets. But if you want to, at any time, you can click and drag on a character, and you click and drag them onto an enemy, and they will taunt. Any character can do this. Your cleric, your sorcerer, it doesn't matter. Anybody can taunt the enemy to kind of like divert their damage around if that's what you want to do. We need to kind of like close this fight right now. I think I can get clear of this damage. Like so. Actually, we've got the kill right there, so I don't even know what I'm doing. We could have wiped him out right this second. That scales card is pretty good. I like that. That's pretty nice. Gain 2 times 1 armor. 3 times 1 armor if we boost it. It's also a flurry card, so if we had taken that other relic that makes flurry abilities cast 2 more times, this would actually be a pretty solid block ability right here. Steal the latest buff from your target. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. I don't want to clog up my deck too much, but like, is what it is. Let's go on down to Margaret and see if there's anything that we can buy inside of her shop. So let's talk to her. Any commodity you can think of, I was able to supply. To get where I was with my endeavors, I had to do things differently. Okay. Well, I like your potbelly stove. It looks nice. You probably shouldn't leave that bottle on top of it. What? I mean, maybe it needs to be heated up. But I'm just a little bit worried about your crack bottle there being on top of the stove. Like it may get ruined. Combat start. Discard any number of cards and then draw more. We don't really have any money to do what I want to do here. Yeah, we don't really have a whole lot of cash to play around with. The extra card draw would be incredible. I wish I could sell stuff. Man, getting an extra card draw, like 6 cards per turn instead of like, I think that's only on the first turn though, but still, like a six-hand opener, like a 6 top deck on the first turn is pretty good. We'll go for the chest over here. Let's see what it's got inside of it. Dwellers needed to find ways to protect their possessions. A large wooden chest reinforced with metal straps seemed like a good idea, but years in a damp environment have taken its toll. All right, let's see what we've got. So we've got Strategize. We've got Calcinate. So deal 10 damage and apply Vulnerable. For every copy of Calcinate you have, it gets another 5 damage. It's a little bit expensive, but properly boosted, it drops down to a 1-cost 10 damage card with a vulnerability attachment. So I think that's pretty good. That Righteous Blast could be turned into something nasty, too. Let's try the Calcinate out. I feel like we'll do a little bit of the Calcifer action. We've got a rest spot down here, but we don't actually supremely need it. Let's see how this next combat goes. I do wish that there was a fork in the road right here, but there's not. So, like, I'll live with what we've got going on. We've got Spell Steal. What did he get? So he's got Blight on death. All heroes gain Blight, and this is permanent. Okay, we didn't get any defensive cards on this opener, so this is going to be a tad stingy, in my opinion. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Let's focus on defending a little bit and at least shaving off a little bit of the sting of this attack. It's really, really, really hard to heal your characters in this game. It's actually kind of a pain, and so you kind of want to avoid damage when and where you can. So they got 8 damage going out to the Sorceress. Okay. I think I can sort of live with that. Calcinate's been brought up. We've only got 1 left. Scales will boost the Calcinate, which allows us to keep on keeping on, adding more defense. And then I think we got to decide like whether or not we want to run the Calcinate and nuke this guy, or whether or not we want to mitigate all the damage. It's a tough call. Actually, I guess I could smite right there, and that'll drop the damage down to 6, and then we'll mitigate entirely. And then we'll just have to wait for the Calcinate to come back up. That card has the nailed modifier on it. That means it stays in your hand. It's not a bad thing to have. So we got 3 damage and Corrode and 10 damage going out to the Priest. Okay. Let's go ahead and we'll run that, because I get the feeling we're going to have to heal somebody before too long. Calcinate is up and ready to run. And so if we can eliminate somebody, I feel like that's probably a decent play. I fully boosted that over there. We could Spell Steal, and that would boost the Mana Shield, and then we could go into a 2/2/2, which gives us 8. I think we're taking damage on this turn no matter what we do. I don't think there's any way around it. The Spell Steal is kind of wasted, but it does boost up a card, which allows us to get another Scales out. And so it's not great, but it's something. Like, it's not what I wanted, but sometimes you don't get what you want. I think Holy Shield just needs 1 smite in order to get the boost and get us free Scales. Fireball can get the boost right there, which gives us another Scales, and that 10 is going out to the Priestess. Okay, we'll keep that in our hand for next turn. But we are getting dotted up pretty good right now. We can throw a high-level Fireball over there. That gets us the Calcinate. It allows us to defense him up a little bit. Defense him up. Throw a Sword Slash. Defense him up a little bit further. And we're kind of like, oh, we've got the kill. Never mind. I'm doing all this organizational stuff on this turn, and I don't even need to. I'm hyper obsessing about the way that I'm playing, and like it doesn't really matter because we had the OTK right there. Repression. Heal the heroes for half of the priest's missing health. Currently 3, and then exhaust. The energy cost goes down by boost. I think that's probably a good thing to take, in all fairness. I like being able to heal my characters, and there's just flatly not enough opportunities to heal characters in the game. So over here, we're going to want to upgrade a card, or we can heal the warrior, which will take him back up to almost full health. Let's upgrade a card. I very, very rarely do this. So we could take that up to a 5. We could take the heal up to a 2-turn regen right there. What's an upgraded Fireball do? It just boosts the damage through the roof? With Calcinate, where does that put us? Oh, it like lowers the cost. Then what happens to the boosts? Oh, it makes the vulnerable last longer, and it can boost down to free. That's not terrible. What does this one do? It lowers the cost. That is also pretty spicy. I'll probably upgrade Repression. Repression feels like the kind of thing that is going to work out for me. We're going to want to run a potion in this battle because we're coming up on a medicine chest. But we got to fight this mini-boss first, and he's probably going to sting a little bit before this gets any better. Let's throw out a defense. Not bad, not bad. What does he have? There we go. Get the spell steal. Shouldn't that be free? Because it costs 2, right? And it's double boosted, so it should be minus 2 AP. I feel like that should be free. Oh, well. Might as well run it. There we go. Okay, a little bit of damage taken right there. That's okay. We still have options. Let's go ahead and we will weaken this guy. So that'll lower his damage on down. We do have the morale ability over here. And our heal is up. Who's taking the hit? He's taking the hit. All right, so that should help out a little bit. I feel like throwing a heal on him might be a decent idea. He's taking a little bit of attrition here from the fight. Yeah, 2 damage is fine. 18 damage to the Wizardess. Ouchie. That's going to be a stingy boy right there. That's going to be real stingy. All right. Well, slide Holy Shield to the right. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have slid the Fireball to the right. Let's go ahead and see what we can mitigate and where we can mitigate it here. That will fully boost the sword, which gives us another defense, which means she takes like 20%. Oh, she reflected the damage, dude. Hell yeah. That's what's up. That's how you play the game. Okay, so we've got Calcinate over here. It only costs us 1, so I'll go ahead and run it. We'll run the slash right there. We will run... Oof, what do I want to do here? We will run the defense. That worked out okay. I'm fairly happy with that play. Considering the lay of the land and what we have going on right now, the enemies output a lot of damage. So I personally feel like anytime you can mitigate anything, it's going to help out in the long term. Oh, I was supposed to use a potion this fight. I could have stunned him on one of those turns. Oh, well. I never think of my potions, dude. I have this problem when I play games like this where I always forget about my potion. We can apply a polymorph over here. To transform an enemy into a rat, they cannot take actions while transformed. If I can upgrade that and get the energy cost down, it feels pretty good to me. I'll try it. Anything that allows me to control the enemy a little bit better. We'll get a bottle right there, and we'll get some candles. And the Jester Man has been knocked out. What you got for the what you got in the potion chest for me? Energy potion. Let's call this, because this is a stun. Warm Light's nice, but we'll get rid of it. We'll gain an energy potion because I think establishing enemy or energy economy is really, really good. At this point, we can either go to the mines or the sewers. Let's go to the sewers, I guess. That sounds all right to me. And I like the way with no load screen, the map actively updates with like the background art right there. That's a nice little detail. I think it looks good. So we kind of want to go for the trinket box if we can. But there's no rests until the end, so we're going to need to play pretty carefully here. Let's go to this combat, and we'll see where it leads us to. I mean, we're in a sewer, so obviously nowhere good is the answer to that question. I'm going to go ahead and raise morale here, just because it's a free boost on my cards. We'll probably run a fireball to get the scales. Fireball to get the scales, and they're all going after my priest. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah, let's focus up our damage, I guess. Is he not able to gain armor? Oh, apparently he's been corroded. Well, that's upsetting. Not in love with that situation. Let's go ahead and we will run a stun potion on whoever's going to do the lion's share of the damage. And then we'll start stacking up defense on other people since he can't benefit from any of the cards. We'll try to heal that off after this turn. We've got a pretty strong defensive turn. He's still not able to actually... Who's running that corrosion ability? Like, how did that corrosion get on him right there? Because that's actually really messing with me right now. Was it just like a random person gets corrosion because we're inside the sewer? That's not great. It's okay, I can taunt, but it's not going to help out too much. We'll go with a Holy Shield on you. We'll Mana Shield that on out to there. I very much like the contextual tooltips that you get on cards that tell you how things are going to get modified when you play them. That's a really, really nice little detail, and I like it a lot. We'll play a Defend on him. We'll play a Mana Shield over here. We'll shift the heal to the right, even though it doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to need to run that taunt here in order to make this whole thing work. There we go. Let's shift the targets around a little bit. I think once we get one of these guys down, we'll be okay. We're just kind of like in a rough spot right now until we get that done. We could polymorph somebody, but I think since we've got like a win in front of us right now, without any of that, I think we should be all right. Oh, it didn't steal his strength buff. What a bummeroony. Okay. We'll play that over there. We've got the spell steal. Heal every ally for 6. Or I can just kill you. Yeah, heal everybody up a little bit. I get the feeling that repression card is going to be invaluable. Enemies can be rezzed in this game, in case you were wondering. That's what you just saw take place right there. Little bit of a bummer, but not much that can be done about it. Energy cost is going to go down on this guy right here. It looks like we'll get some defense out to there. We'll get some defense out to there. We will smite you down. I'll throw out the defense because why not? But we're going to hold on to the 2 scale cards. All right, so now that we've held on to the 2 scale cards, we've got a pretty chunky hand here. You can put down an enemy permanently by hitting them one more time out of combat, in case you were wondering how that works. I'll probably run the heal on you, just to get your health back up. And since he's running a heal anyways, it don't really much matter what we do here. I'm just going to throw out damage, let people regenerate, feel a little bit better. I think we'll go for a slash right there. Or will we? I don't know. I mean, I've got more than enough scales, I think, to take a big, tank a big chunk of this. Like, we run a mana shield right there. And we put that over to that side. He doesn't have any buffs on him right now, though, so I think I'm just going to deal damage. And then we'll hold on to that scale card right there, because shouldn't matter. It's kind of hard to say. But his damage is getting up to kind of like terrifying levels. So I think we're going to have to do something here. He's got vulnerable, suffer more damage. I don't think we have the damage on the board right now to actually kill this guy. 15. Oh, no, we have 16. We'll be all right. There we go. And down goes the priest. But yeah, I think the art style is what draws me into this game versus, like, you guys will know that I'm not a big card game fan. And honestly, I think a component of that might be due to the fact that a lot of card games are, I think that a lot of card games are kind of like Noble Bright. They're a little bit colorful for me. And I definitely prefer things to be a little bit more grim and a little bit more dark and a little bit more nasty and a little bit more sort of cynical and nihilistic. And so anyways, that's why this game ends up working for me right now. I do think that the rebuild is successful. At this point, they've still got a lot of work left to do in adding new characters, adding new cards and playstyles and whatnot. But from what I've seen to the card modifications, with the addition of like corruption plays, scorch plays, flurry plays, the actual boosting system itself, it seems like they've put in some pretty good work here. That seems to be adding kind of a breath of fresh air to the game, in my opinion. I don't really want to run my heal right now. Is his armor corroded or something? Why is he, like, permanently corroded? I'm now curious about this. I'm actually very curious about why he's perma-corroded. I didn't realize that that debuff was permanent. I would have tried to avoid it a lot more aggressively. Yeah, we got all damage abilities on this turn, so I'm glad I held on to a couple of scales. Let's run a fireball over here. Run a fireball right there to get another scale. Maybe run a smite right there. Honestly, I kind of like raise morale just for boosting up neighboring cards for free. Sort of an interesting way that you can end up utilizing the mechanic. And then we'll hold on to that last scale right there, and we've blocked that damage no problem. But yeah, this is Deepest Chamber, the Resurrection update. Hopefully you guys are digging it. Hopefully you found it to be interesting. I know that I don't necessarily have, like, a card game audience, like people that are really, really into card games for the most part. But I do think that this is one of the more appealing ones visually to me, just because of the very Kingsfield kind of Dark Souls-inspired graphical setting, almost like a Grim Dawn type look that the game has going for it. And then the fact that the developers have doubled back down and decided to completely rebuild the game's fundamental mechanics from scratch in order to answer the concerns from the community that, like, it's not a very deep card game, says to me that they want this to be something awesome. Like, they see this game as, like, a part of their legacy or whatever, whereas a lot of developers would have just, like, added some more stuff and then just kind of shrugged and been like, well, on to the next project. They decided to tear the thing down and restart, and the restart feels reasonably decent right now. I think they're on the right footing. I don't know if the level up mechanics are fully implemented yet. Right now you can go up to level 5. When I leveled up, I didn't really notice anything different about my characters. I don't know if there's planned, like, character trees or something like that they're going to be adding to the game to go along with the RPG mechanics of leveling up and going into the dungeon, but it hasn't become apparent to me just yet. But anyways, I've been enjoying the title. Hopefully you will too. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what is worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so that you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were messing around with a title called Deepest Chamber, the Resurrection Update. I will catch you all later. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye, folks.